So today I'm reviewing Hacksaw Ridge. It stars Andrew Garfield as Desmond Doss, and it was directed by Mel Gibson, and it's the inspiring true story of a young man during World War II who decided to volunteer and join the military, but he was against using weapons. He would not pick up a gun, which kind of put him in a conundrum because how do you fight in a war without ever picking up a gun? So that's the basic storyline of this movie, about the character. The rest of the movie is about the battle at Hacksaw Ridge. Okay, so the things I liked about this movie. I actually liked a lot of this movie. It was well directed. The musical soundtrack or score, whatever you want to call it, was very good. The actors did a good job. The problems with movies like this is that you don't get an actor that can be a standout character, usually, because there's so much going on and there's other actors involved, so it doesn't get to focus, like have a direct focus on just one. That being said, this movie still was about Andrew Garfield's character, Desmond Doss, and it also had other characters involved, and it wasn't too convoluted. So it was good, but at the same time, you know, that is a problem with movies like this, especially war films. You don't get to, unless it focuses on one character only, you don't get that feeling. The filmmaking itself was really good. The editing was fantastic. It was nominated for 3 Golden Globes, including the Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Actor. There was never a moment in the film where I felt I was being taken out of the film, which is good, because that's what you want in a movie. You want to be so engaged in it that you never get pulled out. So that was good. So now I'm just going to talk about the movie in general. Just my thoughts on the film itself. This movie kind of became like something special in the Christian community because Mel Gibson cut out blasphemy and the dreaded F-bomb. So a lot of Christians were like, oh, now we can go to the theater and see a more friendly, family-friendly, more or less, movie because there's not all the swearing and there's no blasphemy. That is the case, but at the same time, it's not a family-friendly movie. The first hour is like a PG-rated movie. Like, it's just his story, how he grew up, why he decides to join the military, his boot camp experience. And then you finally get to Hacksaw Ridge, and this is where the film steps up and gets its R rating. You get to the top of this ridge, and all hell breaks loose. And the camera doesn't shy away from it at all, and neither do the characters in the story. So people are just dropping left and right. And it's intense, and it's very brutally realistic. I've seen a lot of war movies, Lone Survivor, Black Hawk Down, The Patriot, Saving Private Ryan. And this film, I would say, is the most violent war movie I've seen. So, you know, some families are like, oh, let's check this out. There's no blasphemy in it because it's Christian friendly. Yeah, but it's still a war movie. Like, they don't cut back on anything when it comes to the battle. They don't cut back anything when it comes to showing how brutal warfare can actually be. So that's just a warning to anybody who's going to watch this movie. As far as negative content goes, there is language throughout. Pretty much every single word except the dreaded F-bomb and blasphemy. So, you know, if you're worried about language, that's still a problem. It's violent. And that's a negative and a positive because you want to show how violent warfare is, but at the same time, if you're squeamish and even if you're not squeamish, if you're not used to seeing that kind of thing, it's really gonna jar you a lot. So, I mean, I mentioned the movies that I've watched before, the war movies I've seen before. So I've seen this kind of stuff before in other movies, but this one really, like, I was almost feeling sick at some points. It's just brutal. And Mel Gibson is actually known for doing very violent movies, which he does well. There's a scene a whole scene that takes place where one of the characters is naked the whole time because the drill sergeant came in when he was changing and told him, get out on the field, we're doing drills right now, I don't care if you have clothes or not. So, I would say it's considered partial nudity, so you might want to be careful if you're watching that, also if that's a problem for you. So yeah, those were the only negative parts of the movie. But it is an inspiring story about how Desmond, the main character, how he had a conviction that he wasn't going to ever touch a weapon. Never pick up a gun, not even in training, to just pass through. So, and he stuck to that conviction. Now, I don't agree with that, because I think, if you're in a war, you should fight, at least defend yourself, and he wouldn't even do that. Later on in the film, you find out why he decided not to ever touch a gun. He finally gets through boot camp, he gets through the military portion of his training, and he becomes a field medic. Now, medics were allowed to carry guns, and you find out that other medics are carrying guns later on in the movie, but he won't touch a gun. So, he stuck to his guns. How's this? He stuck to his guns by never touching a gun. You like that? That's so dumb. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the movie. The part that's interesting with this movie, it goes from PG to an R-rated movie pretty much in the course of 2 minutes. So, I kind of like that because when it hits really hard. It just immediately. So, I kind of like that, actually. I thought it worked well for the film, and it works well for the audience, too. And there were parts in this movie where I was actually holding my breath, and I didn't even realize it, until I started to feel a little lightheaded. And that's when, you're watching a very good, well done movie. Okay, so I covered the positives, I covered the negatives, I covered just random stuff about the film. Now, my rating for the film as a film itself, like how it was made and edited, directed, etc., I would give a 9 out of 10, maybe a 10 out of 10. It was just fantastic. It deserves every nod that it got. It deserves all the attention that it got. So, as a movie that I liked, out of enjoyment factor, it's hard to do that with a war movie because it's so brutal, So I would say my standard of liking a film, it's an 8 or a 9. But is it gonna have that rewatchability factor? Maybe once in a while, because it does have an uplifting, inspiring story of this young man who saves so many lives without ever touching a weapon. So I would watch it again, but it's brutal to watch, and you actually feel drained at the end. Last night I watched it, and at the end of the movie, it was like 11:30 at night, and I got up and I put in an episode of a comedy just to kind of transition before I went to bed, because this movie was that engaging and that intense. So it's rated R. A lot of people, a lot of Christian circles, they're like, oh great, an R-rated movie we can finally see because they don't have blasphemy or the dreaded F-bomb in it. And they go and watch it, and it goes from PG to R-rated in a matter of 2 minutes. And you're kind of not expecting that. It kind of hits you. I actually found the fact that they didn't have any F-words in it to be unrealistic. Now, some people might disagree, and that's fine, but these are all men from various different backgrounds and stuff, and for the whole movie, for them to never say it while they're saying every single other word, it actually kind of stood out that it wasn't in the movie for me. Now, that's just me nitpicking because I do that, but one character mouths it, another character starts to say it and gets shot through the head. So they allude to it twice, but they never actually say it, and none of the other characters say it, but they're swearing left and right, so I don't know why it got around that this was a Christian war movie, because it's not. Yes, there's the Bible in it. Yes, he has strong convictions to not kill. Yes, there's scenes with churches. Yes, he does pray for his company before they go up to fight, but it's not a Christian war film. It's a war film with some Christianity in it, and there's a huge difference there. But I don't understand why the director, Mel Gibson, decided to do that so that it would appeal to Christian audiences, yet he didn't cut back on the violence and the brutality at all. He didn't hold back at all. And he could have, and still have made it rated R or PG-13, which would have gotten a wider audience, but he decided not to. And I don't understand why Christians as a whole, most Christians that I talk to, they're fine with violence in a movie, but if there's language in a movie, they won't watch it. Or they'll get it edited through some company or something like that. I don't understand why. Now, that doesn't mean personally I go out and try and watch every movie I can with a ton of language in it. I try to stay away from those generally. But I just don't get why violence and brutal graphic violence is fine, but language isn't. I don't know, something to think about. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the whole language and violence thing with this movie, because I really wanted to talk about it for a while. 8 out of 10 for my personal enjoyment, 9 out of 10 for filmmaking value. So yeah, thanks for watching. Check out this movie. I would say check it out. I would also say do not watch with someone under 17 years of age, okay? Unless you're the parent and you feel that that's fine. I would strongly recommend that you watch it first, because it's that brutal. So that's up to you. And remember, as always, the movies I'm talking about, I'm not recommending for you and your family. You have your own standards. I mean, I did just recommend seeing it, but I'm not telling you specifically to see it. I'm just saying it's past my approval to recommend it to people. So, if you see it and you got an issue, don't attack me, don't use my name on it and say, well, Aaron said it was fine to watch, okay? Just be cool about it, okay? Thanks. And if you liked what you've seen in this video, check out my channel. I got other videos, and stay tuned because hopefully this week I will be reviewing Spider-Man Homecoming, which I have not seen yet, and I am excited to see and do a review on. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. It is not a friendly. It's the problems with movies like this is you don't get a character. That's the problem with movies like this, is that you don't usually get out a standing. Can't do it. I just can't. Wow, that's bright. I try to avoid. Wow, I can't stop looking at it. You know, it's weird. This happened before, where I couldn't stop looking at the light. Why can't I remember the word? I'm so glad I can edit this.